Hey guys, hope you're doing very well. Before you watch the fan cam, quick shout out to the sponsors, our partners, Foco. This is Foco gear. I've got a different Hawaiian shirt on today. Listen, this isn't all they have. They've got many different things. Any Chelsea merchandise that you can think of, click the link below or scan the QR code. Use the discount code cfctvyt in order to get a 15% discount off of all Foco gear. Enjoy the video, guys. Ready? Hello everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. My name is Alex. I'm outside Stamford Bridge after a 2-0 loss against Man City in the Premier League. Nina, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think I'm as devastated as some fans are coming out to be because it's the first game of the season. After the last two, I'm taking it easy with the start. You know, it's a new era, again, rinse and repeat from last season. New manager, there's new players. They've just kind of been getting to know each other these last couple of weeks. And, of course, you could probably argue the hardest game you could have in your opening fixture against Champions League.
Although the door was open. No Rodri, no Oscar Bob. I wasn't confident, and then after speaking to Man City fans, my confidence started to grow, and it seemed to be the case for a lot of Chelsea fans.
Yeah.
So it feels like an opportunity missed in that sense, but I mean the game itself, they are a good side, aren't they? I mean, even without those players.
Exactly, and it felt like a bit of a pre-season game for them at times. I mean, look, they didn't even need to be at their best, and it was a comfortable win, 3 points almost, kind of, a gift for them, a great start to let them go and do whatever business they're going to in the Premier League. But yeah, look, for us, it's completely different, isn't it? We're worlds apart at the moment. We're pretty much starting from scratch again. There still arguably is a void in the team, you know, in the box, that player that just needs to be there, lethally putting goals away this season. I still think that player is missing for us, and in games like that with Manchester City where arguably you could have 2 chances in a game, if you put 2 away, you know, you need to be able to have someone that can do that, and it's arguably a different game. So I thought, you know, we conceded in a silly way. Again, it's almost like silly individual errors. It can be corrected, so it's not awful, you know, we didn't get absolutely torn apart, but at the same time it's like we can't be letting ourselves down like that. There needs to be improvement. You can't, you know, leave your man. You can't give Manchester City as much space as we did at times. You know, De Bruyne getting shots off easily, and Doku, you know, at times running through, and while Cucurella looked decent and did his job on the most part, I mean, I think Gusto struggled with Doku as well, particularly in the second half. So yeah, look, there are experiments to be made, right? Maresca's obviously still working it out. He doesn't really know his best starting 11. A lot of them have just walked through the door. You see someone like Pedro Neto, you think to yourself, if he continues his goal scoring ways from Wolves, he could be a really good player for us. But yeah, it was a bit too kind of side to side at the start in the first half.
I don't think anyone knew what to expect though, right?
No.
But when I saw the starting 11, I wasn't optimistic. I mean, I was confused. I didn't understand why we had Enzo with Caicedo and Lavia. I thought everyone already knew that doesn't work. And then I was obviously shocked to see Sterling wasn't in the side either. Yeah,
though that was a bit of a surprise because, I mean, Sterling's best games last season were both against Manchester City, and, you know, we throw experience in there, but he arguably has it. But Maresca said that it's a tactical decision, so we'll see what that means. But there is so much wealth now in those positions. A lot of players are going to be fighting for those starting spots, and you're going to need to prove that you deserve one in order to start. You know, we saw Noni Madueke, someone who looked pretty good in pre-season. Do you start him? Is he a bench option, or do you go for someone like Sterling who's got more experience? Now we've got Neto as well. There's Palmer has absolutely already solidified that spot, and he, you know, deserves it. And Kunku as well. So you do kind of think, where do all these players fit? But it's a welcome problem to have, but it's up to Maresca to work out.
I almost think that, especially with the midfield, I don't necessarily think that's the best problem, because you've got 3 players you've paid, 2 of which you've paid a supreme amount of money for, over 100 million for Caicedo, and the same with Enzo. And then you spent, 50 million on Lavia, right? Lavia is the best player in the 6. I think everyone can agree with that. For me, he's probably the best Chelsea player today.
Defo.
And then you've got Caicedo and Enzo. If you keep rotating those 2 every week, I don't think that works in this system. I think it's almost like Sarri. You have to be stringent and pick the same players week in, week out to get that chemistry. So I understand where you're coming from. I just think in that position we have so much quality, ready-made quality, that I would rather have that problem in other positions. And I think in the midfield, we've got a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Lavia there. I think he deserves a lot of credit for today because someone who got the most minutes in a Chelsea shirt today, and he's been a player for a season now at Chelsea. So
feels like a new signing.
It does feel like a new signing, but I was really impressed with his work rate off the ball. At times, you know, he was doing really well to protect the ball by putting his body in front of a City player to make sure another of our player can keep possession, etc. He can turn very quickly and he can carry the ball quite well. He's physical as well, and you need that in the Premier League, particularly when you look at other teams' midfield. He's very physical. At times last season, we saw Enzo and Caicedo get pushed off a little bit too easily. So I think with Lavia, though, you have to push for him to continue starting. I want to see Lavia in lineups to moving forward. You don't bench a player who's just coming back to full fitness, had a good pre-season, and has clearly shown that he can compete with a City midfield today. So yeah, I mean, they didn't even have Rodri in there, but Kovacic did more than enough really to fill that void. And yeah, man, that one hurt a little bit, didn't it? Because he ran straight through us, and you look at us and you think, well, we're a man down in that situation. So I think we need to work with that. Obviously, Maresca wants us to be a possession-based team, but we need to figure out, you know, when we are off the ball, where are those spaces? Because City will attack those spaces, and I think that's what they did. But it's worrying. I think that we need to fix that really. You know, how we look off the ball, and the shape needs to be solidified. But that's what you give time for, I suppose. You know, we used that word a lot when Potter came in, then with not really with Lampard, but then with Pochettino, of course, as well. But I think now this is where you need to give time, because I'm sorry, we cannot be sacking Maresca in December.
How much time, Nina? How much time?
How much time? Well, look, he needs time to implement whatever the system it is. His philosophy wasn't going to be out there against City today, first game of the season. You know, he's got so much players. Arguably, maybe more could be coming in. You know, we understand that Felix is still there on the table, and Osimhen could potentially be arriving, which would be a much welcome signing on my behalf, because I think that no matter how much money we've spent on these wingers that can do good things on the wings and can, you know, spam you across, that man in the middle needs to be there. That target man is going to be so essential, and I'm not too sure you get that with Jackson and Mark Gill as a backup option. So I think if you're going to continue spending this money on all those players that can do the pretty things, invest that money in a striker that can score you goals.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Gill on Thursday in the Conference League. I do feel like the two games have been at Stamford Bridge. I haven't seen enough service to be able to judge his finishing abilities as a striker, but I really like what I saw in pre-season, and I would like to see him play more games.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very physical player. Like, he's 18, but he's so tall and he looks so physical. He is, yeah, and I think Conference League is going to be the perfect opportunity for him to, you know, get some minutes, see what he can do. And the Premier League is tough. It's tough for any player coming in, let alone an 18-year-old who's had not much experience at this level at all. But again, it's great, but I don't want to put that much pressure on an 18-year-old to be scoring us Premier League goals game in, game out. Frankly, it's not fair to rely on Palmer to be replicating those numbers from last season. It was amazing that he did, but again, we've spent money on enough quality. There should be output from more players, and we'll get that with Nkunku. You know, I think he's very technical, he looks great. I think it's just a question of where do you fit everyone and how.
Who do you think will thrive in this system, and who do you think might not?
That's a good question. I think look, let's talk about the fullbacks today, because I think with Malo Gusto and Marco Correa, I think we're probably really excited that we have that kind of solidity in both, because I think balance is one thing we struggled with really last season, wasn't it? Because that left-back role was consistently played by someone like a Colwell or somebody else, but not a full left-back. And we saw that Marco Correa had a great end to last season. He had a really good Euros as well. If he can build on that, I think then this system could be great for him as well. Equally, Malo Gusto, I think, obviously when James comes back, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shifts or what he does and what choices he makes. But I think it's so refreshing to have someone like a Malo Gusto, who's now comfortable, by the way, because he's already had a season up his belt. He knows the players well. I mean,
and he can stay fit.
And he can stay fit, hopefully, touch wood, that we don't jinx him. But yeah, who might struggle? I think that's a good question. I think you could probably point to some of the wingers, because again, who gets game time and where? And I think it's a case of, if we continue this kind of side-to-side football where they are kind of spamming across, so they're, you know, turning their back, then I don't know. It's just a little bit like, I want some of our players to be a bit more direct, take a bit more risks, you know, have a shot. Jackson did this as well in the first half, where he was trying to make it so comfortably on his right foot that he missed the opportunity to shoot and potentially score. I think, and I've said this so many times, Jackson does better when he has no thinking time on the ball, when it's an instant kind of moment like it was earlier, where where Gusto kind of kept it on the pitch and then it went into Edison's hands. But I think he does better when he has less thinking time. But we need a striker that has a little bit more know-how and knows when to put the ball away.
Especially if we get Osimhen and Sterling's going out the door, that leaves a spot on the left wing, and Jackson could be the player to try and fit that spot. But I'm not sure really how he fits into the system, especially if we do have an Osimhen. I think Guiu has a lot of question marks. We know what we're going to get from Jackson, generally speaking, so it'll be interesting. I mean, how do you see us getting on this year?
Hopefully against Wolves next Premier League game we can see 3 points, see at least build on these mistakes that we made, but I do think points are really important from here on, especially as a team who's kind of figuring themselves out and is looking to be competitive. We've got goals to meet this season as well. Points are going to be so important. I hope that Pedro Neto is going to be happy to see his former club come to Stamford Bridge and maybe score a goal. But yeah, I think it's great that we're going to break it up with some Conference League games. I think Europe will be great. I'm quite excited as well. I don't mind us a Conference League. It's a new challenge, it's a new experience.
Get some midweeks at least.
Visitors, come into the bridge, some midweeks, not just your Saturdays and Sundays. But look, I'm excited for this season, considering the last 2 seasons have just been so up and down, and just we've been here in this exact spot, constantly dwelling on all our problems. I just hope that there's a bit more clicking this season. I hope that under Maresca we can be a little bit more direct, that we play with intent, and I don't want to see this kind of freestyle that we saw under Pochettino last season. Maresca, do your magic. You've got so many players out there waiting and ready to just be played. I think that's the thing we need, structure. We didn't have it under Pochettino. I think if he can get us playing in this way where week in, week out, we know exactly what we're trying to do, both on and off the ball, and we're not trying to figure it out, standing outside here saying what is our style and what is our intention, then I think that is going to be a great stepping stone for this whole season,